Hi class, I want to talk about shading Venn diagrams. I found that students have struggled with this in the past, and it might be helpful to have a video to reference when you are studying. So let's say our instructions are telling us to shade A complement intersection B. So there are a couple ways to think about it. One of the thoughts I had was to use colored pencils to help me out. It's not necessary, but it may be a visual helper. So the first thing I'm going to do is shade A complement. I'm going to start by breaking it up. Let's figure out what is A complement, then we'll figure out what is B, and then we'll take the intersection between them. So let's do A complement first. And that's going to be everything except A. So we're going to shade everything except our set A. So try to get everything there. Okay. Then let's visualize. All right, well, what does B look like? I'll switch colors. Well, B is pretty simple. Shading the whole entire circle B. All right. Well, because I'm taking the intersection between them, I am actually taking the overlap. Okay, so that means if I put these two pictures on top of each other, where would both graphs be shaded? Okay, so you could visualize it and say to myself, okay, I'm going to shade only the areas where both are shaded. And I might think, all right, well, I'm going to shade in black for the final answer here. So my A intersect B. All right, I might say, well, are both graphs shaded around the edges? Well, no, it's not shaded around the edges here, so I can't shade there. Okay, so nothing outside the circles. How about in region here, this only A region? Well, no, that's actually not shaded in either graph, so I won't shade there. Then what about this middle section? Will I shade here? No, I won't, because it's not shaded in A complement, but it is shaded in B. So don't shade there because I need both of those regions to be shaded in order to shade the intersection. Well, then it brings me to this only B section. And it looks like, yes, this only B section is shaded in both graphs. So the final answer would be this half moon that looks like the B, only B. Okay, so that would be the final answer. Hi, okay, so let's do that same problem in a different way. So what if it's shade A complement intersect B? Okay, I'm going to start by shading A complement in green, and I'm gonna use less graphs this time. So I'm gonna do A complement in green. Okay, then I'm gonna do on the same graph, I'll do B in red. So all of this B section. Okay, then I'm looking at this graph and I'm saying to myself, okay, where are they overlapping? Where does A complement overlap with B? And I'm overlapping because this is an intersection. Okay, so I want where the areas on the graph where both are red and green. Okay, well, I can see that right here, this half moon again is the place where I see both red and green. That's the overlap between these shaded areas. So lastly, it's the same answer. The final answer is in black. What I would do to be very clear on a quiz or test is I would make sure that my final answer is shaded on the graph only where I want it to be shaded. I would not leave any other marks on the graph because that will be very confusing for the instructor. Okay, so that's your final answer, and it's the same answer that we got when we did it kind of the long way when we used 3 graphs. Okay? All right, let's try a union this time. So let's try A complement union B. All right, this means instead of the intersection, we are taking all of the shaded region, okay? So let's try it again. I'm going to start with A complement in green. And you've seen this before. Everything except A. We're going to shade all of that. All right, we know what that looks like. Let's split up and do B in this orange color. Everything in B. Everything in the B circle. And then I'm taking the union of this. I'll use black. A complement union B. All right, so I'm going to take anything that's shaded in either or graph. Okay, so because it's a union, it's either or. If it's shaded in this graph, I'm going to shade it in the final graph. If it's shaded in this graph, I'm going to shade it in the final. So it's all of the shading together. All right, so I might go region by region and think, okay, everything outside the circles, is that shaded in either or graph? And I'd say yes. In this A complement, it is shaded. So that means in the final graph of a union, I am going to shade that. Everything outside the circles. Okay. Not perfect. Okay, then I'm thinking region by region. This A only, well, is this shaded on either or graph? Actually, no. The A only is not shaded on either graph, which means I cannot shade it. All right, and then I'm thinking about the middle region. Is it shaded on either or? Well, it's not shaded here, but it is shaded here. So that means, yes, I can shade it because it's shaded on the B, and this is a union. Okay, so then I'm thinking that last region here, this only B section, is this shaded on either or graph? Well, actually, yes, it's shaded on both. So we will be shading in that B. And now I've done all the regions and I'm complete. This is the final answer here. But I want you to think about that same problem in a different way that might even be easier. And I'm going to think of the same problem, A complement union B, and I'm going to try to do it on using less space. So this time I'm going to start again with A complement. Everything not A will be shaded. I know you've seen that a number of times. And then I'm shading right on the same graph. I figure this is a union. So everything, it will be shaded in the end. So if I shade it in A complement or if I shade it in B, that's going to be included in the final answer because this is a union, remember? So I'm going to shade all of B. And then this, because it's a union, this is actually the final answer. Okay, so final answer, if I want to be real official about it, is everything in these regions, everything except that only A section right there. Okay, so I got the same answer in two different ways. You can kind of see that. Same answer, two different ways. All right. Okay, let's try to shade now with 3 sets. Okay, so now we've got A intersect B and then union with C. All right, so as we know from class, we're going to start with the parentheses first. So let's start on this first graph and go ahead and shade in green A union, not union. Sorry, guys. A intersect B. Okay, we're going to shade that first. So where does A and B overlap? Because we want the intersection. Well, that's going to be this region here. Everything that is in A that is also in B. Okay? All right, we've got that going. Then I'm thinking, well, this is going to be union with C. So let's visualize what C looks like. C is right here, all of C. And then if I'm taking the union of these two different graphs, I'm going to take everything all together. So for my final, I'm going to have A intersect B, union C. Okay, well that's everything in either or graph. So all of this region is going to be shaded. And then all of C. So unions sometimes are easier. Let's do another one. Okay, let's try this one. So again, I've got 3 sets. A complement intersect with A union B complement. So the complement of A union B. All right, let's break it down. Let's figure out what A complement is, and we're going to have to figure out what that is, okay? So first, A complement, everything but A. Once again, in green, everything but A. Okay? Easy enough. Let's go with this orange for A union B and then take the complement of that. Well, first I want to visualize what is A union B. What's that look like? Well, that's anything in either A or B. So that's all of A along with all of B. Well, we don't want A union B though. We want A union B complement. We want the complement of this. All right, so we had to do an extra step to figure this out, that here, this is going to be everything except those 2 circles. All right, so shading around this, everywhere except the top 2 circles. Like this. Should be nice. Okay. All right, well, I'm almost done. I have my A complement and I have my A union B complement, and I want to take the intersection between them. So my final answer is going to be places shaded on the graph that are shaded in both this graph and this graph. So actually, to keep the picture there, I'm going to have to draw a new one for us. Try to keep it neat. It's challenging to draw your own graphs, but we will have to do that anyway, so you might as well watch. Okay, A, B, C. All right, so I ask myself, I'm going to go region by region and shade. Is the outside of the circles shaded in both graphs? Is the outside of the circle shaded in both? Yes, it is. So I'm going to start there and shade the outer portion. Okay, now I'm thinking, all right, let's go region by region. How about this A? Anything in A, really, all of this A is not shaded in this graph. So I cannot shade it in the final graph, because if it's not shaded here, it's not going to be shaded in the final, because this is an intersection. All right, same situation with B, actually, that nothing in B and nothing in A is shaded. So I know I cannot shade the A and the B. But then I ask myself, how about this little portion of C down here? Is it shaded in both graphs? Well, it's shaded here and it is shaded here. So yes, I can go ahead and shade that. So some of these require some more steps. This is the final answer. A complement intersect A union B complement. So we are going to be working more with this in class so that you can get hands-on practice. Hopefully this is helpful moving forward. Thank you.